The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. We have a very special guest for you today from Keller Williams Chico, California. We have Alisha Simpkins. Alisha's been in the industry about 16 years and takes great pride in the area that she works in and takes great pride in her family. Alisha, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am incredible. Thank you for asking.
Yes. Weather good out there today?
It is, yes. We've gone from having 113 weather to rain, clouds, to now we should be about 90 degrees today. So it'll be beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome. 90's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. So let's start at the beginning. You're a first-time guest for me, so we'll get to know each other a little bit. But tell me, how did you get started in real estate?
So I grew up very fast. I had my baby when I was in high school, and when I had my baby, I also had custody of my two little brothers.
Wow.
While I was a junior / going into my senior year of high school. So I had to choose something that I could get into very fast. And I put myself through vocational college about 2 weeks after I graduated high school, and fast-tracked that career and got into the law. I was a paralegal for our federal law firm, and I was doing an awful lot with settling cases and doing things that I felt was rewarding, yet the financial reward wasn't there. So I started looking into real estate and realized that real estate would be a perfect industry for me because all I know how to do is work my butt off. I unfortunately have this awful fear of failure, which has caused me to put my head down and keep going, which ultimately has been incredible in my career and yet awful in my career because I made an awful lot of mistakes during that time when I was just putting my head down and going. But again, going back to why I got into it, I realized that real estate is one of the only careers that will pay you in direct correlation of the activities you do. And I knew that I was really good at being able to put my nose to the ground and go. So real estate is something that I ended up being able to marry my last career, which was the legal documents, into real estate and really be able to just have an upper hand when it came to negotiations and contract law. And so I've been at Keller Williams for 16 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know what I'm curious about with you? Because when I listen to your story, and we're all like this, right? We start hearing the story and I go, oh, I need to know more about that. I need to know more about that. Just give me a tidbit of what it was like, the juggling of taking care of family members and then obviously having your own child and starting out in the business. Or, maybe you were a little further along when you actually got into real estate, but, tell me about the challenges and the joy there.
So the challenges, the joy was I learned how to become very successful very quick. And so the money factor that I was never used to growing up and had a fear around that in itself was something that I learned that I became good at that very fast. And unfortunately, what that did for me was it allowed me to see what I was really good at. And that it to be honest, it came at the expense of my family. And I didn't realize it for a long time. I think that I had this mindset that was a little bit false where I said, well, I have to work really hard to give you guys the life that you want. And the truth is that they didn't want that life. I wanted that life for them because I never had it, but they never wanted that life. They wanted me, and it took failing forward probably 10 years, as embarrassing as that sounds, for me to realize that this career would eat me alive if I didn't put limits around it and have expectations for myself that my best self was for my family. Because what was happening is my clients would get the best of me and my family would get the rest of me. And
Right.
it happened for so long that it just caught up with me without me realizing it.
Yeah, that's something you only have to learn. You have to learn it, right? It's not like someone can tell you that. It's almost a baptism by fire, and
Well,
you're doing that.
and what's really sad is like I get to speak at a lot of different offices and Keller Williams around the
Nice.
United States. And I always tell them that real estate is one of those things that if you don't pay attention, it eats you alive. And, it can provide you the best career. But for me, I became an alcoholic. I
Wow.
lost the relationship with my kids. I
Mm.
almost got divorced. And as sad as
Wow.
that is, some of those things happen twice. So I hear you. And sometimes it just takes once. For me, it took hitting rock bottom and
Right.
going, I'm about to lose everything unless I can
Right.
figure out what is happening. So, you're right. It should only happen once. But I'm extremely sad to say that it happened to me more than once, but I will never let it happen again.
There you go. And that's what matters, right? We all fall off the horse, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got a different analogy, right?
Yeah.
How many times you get back on, and it's a long road. So
Yeah.
how'd you sell 92 homes working part-time? I want to know that.
Because I
I want to
had
go part-time and sell my,
because the truth is in 2020,
yeah,
it was my best business year. It was my best GCI as an individual agent where I made more than $1 million,
right?
but it was my worst personal year. So at that point, I had to put the brakes on. And I remember, people who know me really well or have had the opportunity for me to be vulnerable in front of them. I tell people January of 2021, I remember sitting in my office by myself, and it was the first time that I realized that you could cry with your eyes closed because
Oh,
I was
wow.
in the middle of a prayer and my whole prayer was this. And I just said, God, if I sell 5 homes this year, but my marriage is the strongest it's ever been, that will be my most successful year ever. So
Wow.
honestly, every day was just spent being a better version of myself and
I love
saving
it.
my marriage and figuring out what I needed to do to put the right things in place to where that would never happen again. So I had to put some very strict boundaries around myself where I said, every day by 2:30, I will leave and I will go pick up my kids from school because then I knew
Right.
that I would be present there.
Right.
And every day I get home, I will make sure that my cell phone is put away. And as hard as it was to face my husband and to know that I had a lot of repairing to do, that was something that I knew every day I woke up, as hard as it was, I just said, what am I going to do to make sure that my family felt number one and that I was becoming a better version of myself? And I I don't know how. I know every time I get a chance to speak about it and people go, so you don't know how you did it? I mean, I just put very strict guidelines around when I
Yeah.
was at work for those few hours. I did whatever I needed to do to be present at work with the understanding that nothing got done if I wasn't being the best person I could. So it didn't
Right.
matter about the lead generation time if I wasn't committed to being the best version of myself that day. And I know it was God. I know that sounds really
Right.
odd, but I truly believe that he knows how much I struggled and he knows how much I had the desire to do what I needed to do every day, as hard as it was, to be the person I was. And I think by doing that and living my life on purpose, my business flourished. Now, I will be honest with you, I wasn't a 40-year agent, 40 unit agent producer a year. I
Right.
usually do between 70 and 85 units. So I already do a good amount of units.
Right.
What I had never done is been very purposeful with, I will not go on appointments after 2:30. I will not work on weekends. I will not, and I think, and I'm so sorry, you probably should be talking more than me, but I think the real way that I
Sure.
was able to do that is because my team knew how
Right.
much I I was dedicated to saving my marriage, saving my family, and they were just as supportive. So if they knew that I had a listing appointment after 2:30, they figured out a backup plan. If I had a buyer who wanted to see property after 2:30, they
Right.
figured out a plan. They never made me feel like, well, you're going to be upsetting people or you're going to be losing business. It was, we're going to figure this out. We're going to make
Right.
sure that our business isn't suffering. And yet the most important thing that needs to be focused on, which is my marriage, was,
Right.
I was able to focus on. So
See,
sorry, I probably talked way
no,
too
no,
much.
not at all. Not at all. It's your story, and that's what we're here to hear. So yeah, I agree with that. And as you're saying it, I'm thinking, yeah, it really, especially in this industry, it has to be a collective experience, right? It has to be a collective that everybody's on board with, just for the sanctity of everybody involved, right? I mean, if you at the top of the pyramid, let's say, can't function because of everything that's going on below you, it's up to those below you that are working on different parts and helping you, assisting you to be part of that same struggle. And
Yeah.
and sometimes it is just down to things like scheduling, right? I mean, I feel stupid when I say that. I mean, I go back in my life, I'm 52 years old. I go back in my life and I go, oh, all these mistakes I made. If I just would have done this. And what's so funny about if I would have just done this, I'm not even talking about an actionable thing, where if I would have just not gone to that place, right? I mean,
Mhm.
no, if I would have broken out time to be with my wife and kids, or that day, and not gone with my buddy on that trip, you could say anything, right?
Of course.
But it's all about what you're doing is putting yourself in the right places,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I that's how I feel when I hear your story. That's how I feel. It's like we just have to put ourselves in the right places, and we need the assistance of others to help us do so.
Well, and furthermore, I owe an obligation to my team, the
Right.
girls on my team, to know that I will never let them fail in the way that I did.
Right.
Family is so important, and so if
Sure.
I can show them vulnerability and teach them the lessons that I have failed through. I love when my team makes mistakes, but never with family, never with personal. It's if you
Yeah.
miss a deadline, if you forget to call a client back, you'll probably never do that again because it feels awful.
That's right.
But I never want them to know what it's like to have your kids not feel like they're loved, or to
Yeah.
have your husband feel like he comes second or third or fourth. And
Yeah.
that's where I need to step up as a leader. And if I could teach them the life lessons, it's so much more important than a script they can use in real estate. And that's what
Right.
I really try to give
Right.
them, if
Yes. Yeah.
the things that have personally happened to me.
Yes, I agree with that about, life, I don't wanna say life goals, but, you're using your experience to help others, right?
Yes.
And when it becomes more about others and using, you look back and, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm stronger now. Good for me, whatever it might be. But the reality is now you taking that and giving it is literally you're giving. You're
Yes.
giving that experience to them saying, here's a blueprint for what you shouldn't do, so to speak.
Yeah.
I am at where I'm at, and this all happened and it put me here, but don't go through this. Take
Yes.
take the positive part and do that and let the negative just fall off. So I think that's awesome. I think that's just fantastic. I should be doing more of that, because mistakes in my life, I look back and I kind of want to hide them, right? I kind of want to
Yeah.
be like, that didn't happen.
And most people were a
Yeah.
afraid of judgment, fear of
Yes.
failure. Everything around us is preventing us from sharing our goals, sharing our dreams,
Yeah.
because we're afraid of what people are going to say about us. And it's the only thing that holds us back in our life to becoming the person that we want to be, even if it's. I remember when I quit drinking a little over 5 years ago, and I had to look at my son in the pool and say, "Izzy, starting tomorrow, Mama's never drinking again." Because I had tried to make the promise to myself. I had tried over and over to understand that I had a problem, but
Yeah.
if I wasn't willing to look at my son, acknowledge that I had a problem, and make a promise to him, I would probably still be drinking with all of my other realtor friends.
Yes.
and so for me, I remember one of my girlfriends saying, don't go on social media and tell people that you were an alcoholic and that you quit drinking. And I just remember feeling, why? Because if I can help one person to help them stop drinking and save their family or save their future, that's what I'm here for. And I was quiet for almost a year. And then I finally decided my 1 year sobriety, I would share it with the world. And every year I share it. And every year on August 14th, when I get to share my story,
Yeah.
the amount of people who reach out to me privately, hearing their struggles and their stories, it brings me to tears every single time I make the post. And I could be in fear that someone's going to go, wow, that's sad. Like, I can have one drink and not drink again. The reality is I couldn't. And a lot of people can't. And they're afraid to say I have a problem in fear of failure. So
Yeah.
gosh, sorry, I could go on and on.
It's good.
Sorry.
Like I said, this is your show, and I love hearing it, and I appreciate the fact you're willing to share those things. So let's talk about let's talk about the future. So, we just kind of went over the past and, where did that tumultuous pathway and where you were. What are things look like in the future? Where do you want to be and how do you want to get there? Not necessarily a 5-year plan, but, what's next for Alisha?
I think I've got my right-hand girl, Jessica, on our team, who just got licensed and has been with us for a few years. She shares so many of the same values and outlook, and just really trying to help people and wanting to be a bigger part of our community, that I really see us growing at a small pace because we're small but mighty. We're not interested in having 50, 60% market share. We're more interested in figuring out how we can live our best life and along the way help everyone else live their best life.
Right.
I would love to feel like God put me through a lot of the things he did in my life so that I could be a speaker to others and
Nice.
a path and guide for others. So I don't know what he has in store for me yet, speaking wise. But I know that I have failed so much in my life, and I don't think he would have wanted me to fail like that if it wasn't for a bigger purpose.
Right.
I started a nonprofit last year for single parents to become homeowners because I was a single mom raising my brothers and had my little boy. And I understand the fear of not feeling like you could breathe a lot of the time, not feeling like you could dream because you're constantly worried about surviving,
Right.
putting food on the table. And so our nonprofit helps single moms and dads with 50% of their down payment and then pays for their closing costs. To try, I feel like it's so much bigger than just getting people into home ownership. It's allowing their children to see the generosity and want to grow up and do something bigger in the world. So I think that we have an opportunity to just change the outlook of single parents and give encouragement to them to be able to live a better life. And at the same time, raise these children that will see this massive generosity and something that allowed their parents to live again and dream again and cause them to want to do something massive in our world also.
Nice. I love that. No, really. I mean, that's purposeful guidance for sure. So if someone's looking, I mean, where do most of your new guys, as we wind down here, I'm a little curious about Chico. I'm a little curious about your community, your area. I used to live in California. I will admit, I've never been to Chico. Tell me a little bit about the demographic and, kind of what the town's like. It seems very nice. But how's the town comprised? And
yeah, so we're Northern California. We're about an hour and a half north of our capital, Sacramento, California. We have a lot of a lot of bars, I guess, because we do have Chico State. So we've got Sacramento River. We have a lot of hiking. We have Lake Oroville. We have, we're unfortunately, the last few years have been known because we had our town, Paradise, California, burn. About 90% of it burned in the Camp Fire a little over 3 years ago. So we're recovering from that. but that has allowed, we have a university here, we have a huge hospital, we have build.com, clean canteen. So Chico is kind of, we're the I think a small town with a lot of big businesses that start here. Lulu's, which is a clothing company, is here and started in Chico. They've sold it off, but we just have a lot of really cool businesses. So but we have a lot of retirees. So we do have a lot of people that are trying to flee California, unfortunately. But if you are looking at looking into Chico, California, again, we just have beautiful weather, a lot of outdoor things, and a lot of mom and pop businesses. So we like to support local and shop local as much as we can.
It sounds a lot like it's a little bit smaller, but I used to live in Tucson. And Tucson, Arizona used to be big on only local. Like you couldn't go to Phoenix or you were a traitor. You know, everything.
Well, unfortunately, we still go to Starbucks, but we do a pay it forward Friday, where we try to go to a coffee shop and try to start a pay it forward and get people to pay for the car behind them. So we had to do Starbucks.
Interesting. Two things about the Starbucks. Well, I was at a drive-through in here. I'm in West Palm Beach area, Florida, and for the first time, someone paid it forward to me for the first time in my life, and I was like, "Wow."
Oh, so my question to you is, did you keep it going and pay for the car behind you?
Okay, it was at midnight and there was nobody there. I actually said that to the young lady who was helping me out, and I said, "Man, there's nobody behind me." And she goes, "Just next time, you know." She goes, "Most people just do it next time or whatever, you know." And I was like, "Okay, I gotta go home anyway. It's late." But my son and I were talking, and he had Starbucks, you know, and he's more the go local type guy. And he said, he goes, "You know what though?" He goes, "When it comes to something like this, where now everybody sells a $6 cup of coffee, you know, there's no more 99 cent. I might as well get the one that tastes the best." And he goes,
kidding.
He goes, "They really are the best." And I don't drink, I personally don't drink coffee. But I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? I mean, if it's really the best and they have the best selection and, you know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So big deal. They're all over the nation and there's one on every corner. I don't think they're really hurting anybody. And I think they have some ideals about, you know, who they are. And they're not McDonald's.
Well, I'll have to do research, but I think that they have a college program where their employees, they help pay for. So again, I should do more research before I say that, but it feels good when you're able to support a company like that believes in educating their employees and, you know, so feel good.
So how could, you know, if anybody wants to talk to you, maybe, you know, they want to get some really good sage advice, like, you know, you really have a good story to tell, or they want to buy a home or they want to list a home, but how do they get in touch with you?
So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, just at Alisha Simpkins. It's spelled a little different. Alisha is Alisha. Do you want me to give my phone number or?
That's up to you. People give their phone. People give their phone number. Yeah, if you're afraid to give your phone number on the podcast, well, I don't know if anybody's gonna call. Yeah,
no kidding. I don't know. I mean, again, you can Google me and I'm everywhere.
We'll put it on the billboard, but I'm not gonna put it on your podcast, Tim.
No, 530-354-4244. Just like on this podcast, I am a very open book. I'm not afraid to talk about any of my failures. Awesome. If anybody wants to pick my brain, find out more about my story or how I can help with them, I'm really good at taking agents and helping them find their passion and setting them out on their own, you know, action plan to create more business. So
nice. Well, I'll give you the last word. You know, I'll let you, you know, anything that we may have left out or you feel like it's on your heart or your mind to say, and then we'll close out from there.
I think that I wasn't prepared. You told me to prepare for this and I thought we already talked about it, but for me, I think the biggest thing is to remember that we are in charge of our own thoughts. And if we are having a bad day, it's our fault. There is something that we can do to control and to figure out whatever it is that's affecting us, because the way that we choose to behave every day is our choice. And we can either be joyful and change someone's day and be the person we're proud to be, or we can let a negative thought or someone cutting us off or something that happened or an unfair thing. I lost a lot of money this week, and I can look at it as a really bad way, or I can look at it and say, what kind of lessons did I learn from this? And I read something in a investment book this morning that said sometimes the best investment you can make is to walk away from a deal. So I think, again, we lose ourselves in why me? This always happens to me. I'm the most unlucky person in the world. And it's all about how we choose to see things. So that's what I would say is remember that
no, it's great.
in charge of your own thoughts.
I'm going to tell you something funny real quick. When you said, I read something and just my mind works really like yours, works pretty fast. And I go, if she says fortune cookie.
I work out every day and I'm starting to track my stupid food because my husband is in the most perfect shape. So we don't eat fortune cookies anymore. Otherwise, it might have been.
No, I got to be in a wedding in December, or my son's getting married in December. And my wife's like, we're 90 days away. He just stares at me, and I'm like, all right. Okay.
Hey, you're one good flu away from hitting your weight.
Exactly. I'm gonna start going down to the hospital and hanging out. People get COVID tests. Alisha, thank you so much for being on the show. We really enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you again and catching up at another time.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Tim.
Have a great one.
All right.